It's Television Man.
Hi, I'm Judy Massabny. I'm reporting today from the Church of the Brethren here in Arlington for Arlington Weekly News. And with me today is Nancy Fitzgerald, pastor of the Church of the Brethren. Hi, Nancy.
Hi, Judy.
It's good to see you.
Good to be here with you.
Nancy is such an integral part of this Boulevard Manor community where the Church of the Brethren is located. Nancy, how long have you been here?
I've been here 9 years this coming December as their pastor.
Now, I know that the church is very much a part of the community. Tell me what you think the church offers Boulevard Manor.
Well, this church loves the connection with people and with Arlington. And some of our folks are from Fairfax and Falls Church, but most of our service is in Arlington. So for the Church of the Brethren, service is the primary thing we do. And so we're connected to so many of the different agencies in Arlington that just help people, from food assistance to shelter to free clinic to Doorways, which works with women and children experiencing domestic abuse. So that's what we offer, is connection and lots of service from our volunteers.
How long has the Church of the Brethren been here?
The Cornerstone says 1953, and I was checking the history the other day, and that's about when the congregation formed, and I think the church was actually finished somewhere around 57, 58.
Long before you were even born.
Well, no, I was born. I was just little. But can you imagine this neighborhood when there were just the ranch houses, the bigger houses hadn't been built yet, and you could not only just see the Washington Monument, which you can see from the upstairs of the church still, you could see National Cathedral and a lot of things because the trees weren't as tall.
Mm-hmm. Boulevard Manor, the Church of the Brethren looks down towards Bluemont Park, so that'll give you some idea where it's located. I know that having lived here in Boulevard Manor myself, I know how important the church is in the community, and we have our Civic Association meetings here. You know, I was thinking about all the churches in Arlington. There are about 60 churches, and many of them are in residential areas like the Church of the Brethren. And I just find that very interesting that they are plopped down in the middle of a lot of homes. And I would imagine, and I know for a fact, that they become so close to the community, even if the people who come to the services are not from that particular community.
A lot of our members grew up here, either in the neighborhood or around in Arlington, and then maybe had to move a little bit further away. But it keeps that connection where they all feel tied to Arlington. And some people, some of my colleagues in churches say, oh, well, you don't have visibility from a highway. But what they don't have is that connection to the neighborhood. So many of the people in Boulevard Manor who aren't members or attend worship still consider this their church.
I think that's very true, Nancy. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up here in Virginia? Did you travel around? What's your background?
I actually grew up on the Jersey Shore. My father was a pastor and served a church that was a church plant in Toms River, which is in Ocean County, New Jersey. Mm-hmm. And so I guess I spent the longest there. He had a couple other churches in New Jersey. And then he went off to serve a church with my mother and brother in Ohio when I went off to college in Western Kentucky at Murray State University. And after that, I ended up back in the Washington, D.C. area and fell in love with Virginia. I thought Kentucky was so beautiful if you had to leave the shore. But when I came to Virginia, I said, well, you've got it all here. And I just love it.
Were you always a pastor, or did you start out as something else?
No, I did a lot of different things. In fact, I've done so many things that I tend to tell people. They go, "How did you learn how to do that?" And I'm like, "Different life," because I've had a lot of different careers. So I was in sort of software in computer world back when the computer was down the street and in that big building, and then I did a lot of other things. So mostly prior to coming here or going to seminary, I was in outdoor ministry. So I worked at a camp and conference center, and it was there that I really experienced the call to ministry and wanted to go to a seminary. And I went to Gettysburg Lutheran, and they worked things out with the Church of the Brethren so I could take the needed denominational courses, and ended up being a pastor in Manassas and then here.
Tell me something about the Church of the Brethren. What is its mission?
Well, service is a big part of it. It's a 300-year-old denomination, but we're small. We came out of the Radical Reformation, if you're a history buff, and that means that we're about 100 years younger than the Mennonites. And the Mennonites had a big influence on the Church of the Brethren, and that's our Anabaptist wing. But there's this other wing called the Pietist wing, which I tend to phrase that the Pietists are interested in the relationship between me and God. Well, the Anabaptists are interested in the relationship with me and my community, and how does God exist and work in community. And the Church of the Brethren is kind of in between those two. So any individual Church of the Brethren could look vastly different depending on where on that spectrum they are. If they're closer to one end or the other, they might look way different. We're pretty solid in the middle with a strong wing toward the Anabaptists because of our strong community emphasis and our desire to serve.
Mm-hmm. I understand that Bethel United Church of Christ is going to be moving their services here. Tell us a little bit about that.
So excited about that. Bethel United Church of Christ unfortunately lost their parking, and they've decided to ask us this year if they could move into the building, but not as renters, as covenant partners. And we examined what that would mean, and really what it means is you'd have two congregations sharing a building. And in today's world, it's difficult for a congregation to support buildings when they get some age on them. And so we decided we would look at it. We now have committees working on what will that look like specifically. But they will share in the building, they will share the space of the building, and then we will do Christian education together so our children can be in classes together. They're big into service like we are, so we're a great match. In fact, we're often at the Food Assistance Center on Saturday mornings doing distribution, and they've been there the night before stocking the shelves. So it's just a great match, and I'm looking forward to all the things that these two congregations can do together.
The Church of the Brethren, you also have daycare, do you not, or some programs for kids?
They used to have actual daycare here, but there is one at Bethel, and we don't know what will happen when they move because it could be that the space there and here don't mesh. Our big involvement with children as the Church of the Brethren is a national program. We do child disaster services, which is part of Brethren disaster response. So right now there are several child disaster service teams in Houston. Well, they're actually not in Houston, they're in San Antonio because they couldn't get to Houston following Hurricane Harvey. And they send new teams in periodically. So we have several people in our congregation trained. It just depends on whether they're available to go. So I have friends from the Manassas congregation who are in San Antonio now serving, taking care of the children, while the parents deal with the results of the flood and what do we do and how do we find our home again? Where do we start? Well, the children have to do something while the parents are dealing with that crisis. And Brethren Child Disaster Services does that.
You're going to retire at the end of the year, Nancy. Now, what are you going to do with yourself?
Well, first, I'm going to take a well-earned sabbatical. At least that's what I'm telling myself.
Yeah.
I never took a sabbatical, and so I have been in ministry since 2000 when I started seminary, and I was working for the Noakesville Church, actually, back then in education. And I never took a sabbatical, and this is one of those vocations that really you're supposed to take a sabbatical, and there's a reason for it. And so I'm feeling a little frayed at the edges. So I plan to, with my husband, go out west and ski. Oh. The last couple of years, we've managed to go out west for a week of skiing, and we've been promising ourselves pretty much all of our lives while we raised our children that we would someday go out west. We've always skied the East Coast in New England. So we are going out for a week outside of Denver in Beaver Creek, and then the rest of about 6 weeks more in Lake Tahoe. And we're just going to ski. Oh. It's going to be wonderful. When I come back, then I'll decide we'd like to settle back into this area, and I have a first grandchild on the way in November. So I want to come back and be near that child.
Oh, that's wonderful. I hope you're able to move back close by to Boulevard Manor.
I know, it's the best neighborhood.
We really, really want to see you here, Nancy. You have helped so many folks in our community. Nancy has officiated at a number of different events here. She officiated at my mother's funeral and my husband's funeral, and has done that for a number of folks, and has just been a real important member of our committee. Nancy, is there anything else that you would like to tell us about the Church of the Brethren before we go?
Well, I want to touch on the neighborhood too, because where we are is important, and our connection to the Reevesland Learning Center. I'm on the board, and I would stay on the board if they'll have me. And a couple people said, "Of course we will." But that work with children and continuing to educate children on how to grow their own food and where their food comes from, and organic growing of food, has been so important to the children at Ashlon and Arlington Traditional School and so many others that I'll stay connected to that. And that's kind of who the church is. We stay, connected so that we can serve others. So we kind of went from, when I got here, they called the church the little church with a big heart. The little church on the hill with a big heart. Well, now we're the church with the ministry beyond the walls. Because even though we're still not big number-wise, we're very small, you can get to know everyone easily, our ministry has gone beyond the walls so that we have a very interactive website, we have podcasts. I'm one of the hosts of the Dunker Punks podcast, which reaches out to young adults and youth all around the nation who might not have a church home, but need spiritual encouragement along their journey, and that's what we try to do. So this church has owned ministries for people they will never meet, they will never know who they are, but they support those ministries because that's who the Church of the Brethren is.
Nancy, if folks would like to learn a little more about the Church of the Brethren, how would they go about doing that? You have a website?
Yeah, our church website, I would highly recommend. It's arlingtoncob.org for Church of the Brethren, so arlingtoncob.org. We are slightly different than the denomination as a whole because we are welcoming and affirming of all people, including lesbians and gays and bisexual and transgender and queer people. So they're all welcome here, and we've taken a vote and joined the supportive community network of Brethren and Mennonite churches that are open and affirming. So that sets us a little bit apart of our own denomination. So we like to say that we're witnessing to welcome even to our own denomination, because that's been a very important part of who we are.
Thank you, Nancy Fitzgerald, and good luck in the future.
Thank you, Judy.
We're going to miss you.
We won't be too far away.
Oh, good.
other way, don't you know? It's got eyes in the back of its head. Spend a year in the dark because it's hard to find the light when the sun is a warm disease. Trampled and crumbling heat. Could lie in an ocean, could twist and could turn, and come back salty stone. Still sense a presence, still feel the pressure on a tin rooftop quiet collision. Let's turn the other way, don't you know? It's got eyes in the back of its head. Spend a year in the dark because it's hard to find the light when the sun is a warm disease. Trampled and crumbling heat. Trampled and crumbling heat.
Hello, this is Hef Munson out and about in Arlington. We're continuing the little series called Everyday Arlington. Places that you may have forgotten about or maybe didn't even know about. And this one's free. This is a brand new little park installation that they have put up sometime in the last couple of years while I wasn't watching. It is on the Washington and Old Dominion Trail. It is rather near Columbia Pike and of course 4 Mile Run. And they've got a special little bicycle section where the inexperienced riders can go, and it's really, really very nice. The other thing it has that I personally like a great deal is a water fountain. This is something that if you walk the trail a lot, you really, really appreciate. And they have just a general sit-down place, and it's very lovely. Let's go ahead and explore a little bit. This is the sign that tells you where you are. All of these parks have these, and here's this one. This is the sign that's a little bit more specific, but not really specific enough as far as I'm concerned. Here's a special effect dissolving into a whimsical water fountain. If you look closely, you can pretend that it's got a big wide open mouth, no eyes, and a little nose, and 2 hands holding out things where you can get water. Just work with me. Then we have a nice little sort of table benchy thing, and then we have an amazing array of benches. Just imagine sitting in all of them at once, or maybe not. Then we have a slightly out of focus little sweep of all these wonderful displays about living upstream or running 4 miles to the Chesapeake, or better yet, flowing with time. If you want to see the detail, just come to the park. My favorite part is the learning loop, which is designed for, it says so right there, young and inexperienced riders, so people can go on the trail without getting run over by hotshots, which is kind of a sticking point of mine. Little kids and old people can enjoy that. I like it so much that here's another view of it with a big wide panorama thing. And that's pretty much it, but isn't it nice? You can see it's just a little loop, and you can go round and around and around, kind of like you can pretend you're a toy train. So this completes our little overview of this nice new park. Technically part of the Glen Carlin Park, and it's all a part of everyday Arlington.
Hi, I'm Inga Middleton with Arlington Independent Media. I'm here at Taqueria Poblano with Dan Michel, who is the owner and restaurateur. Thank you so much for having us, Dan.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate
Glad you
letting
came
us
by
in.
and made the time for us.
Yeah, so tell us, what does that mean, Taqueria Poblano?
Well, a taqueria is basically like a small restaurant in Mexico. It would be like the equivalent of like a coffee shop here. So it's just, it's not necessarily a fine dining, but it's a restaurant that you're kind of a typical restaurant in Mexico. And the poblano is the actual pepper that we use a lot of in our recipes, the poblano pepper. Yeah.
That's very nice. I
Yeah.
love the name. I think my friends and I just call it taqueria for short.
Right,
So,
right.
And you're very well known for your margaritas, I understand.
Yeah,
and
we've won City Paper, Best Margarita 4 years in a row.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it's really because it's a fresh made product, handmade product, no mixes, no powders, nothing like that. It's just limes, a little bit of sugar, and good tequila and good triple sec. Yeah.
I can tell
Yeah.
that they're very good.
Good.
How long has this been here, this establishment?
This store has been here 14 years. The quick backstory of Taqueria is I was a pastry chef in my former life, and one of the chefs that I was friends with and worked with for many years in the hotels was Glenn Adams. Okay, and he's from Southern California. And in 1999, he decided to get out of the hotel business, and he always wanted to open up a little taqueria, kind of like the ones that he grew up with in Southern California. He didn't see anything like that in this area and thought it might go. So I helped him open it, not as a business partner, just as a friend, and it took off. And so a few years later, he asked me if I wanted to open up a second store, and that was about 14 years ago.
And so where's the first store?
First store is in Del Rey, in
Oh,
Alexandria.
I didn't know you had a second
Yeah,
store.
on Mount Vernon Avenue.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, actually, we have three. Okay, that was the first one, then this one, and 5 years ago, we opened a third store on Columbia Pike.
Okay, that's Arlington as well, right?
It's South Arlington.
Is Glenn still involved?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Glenn's my business partner, and my wife is also a co-owner.
I got
Yeah,
you.
she and I kind of job share.
Oh, that's
down here, so
awesome.
it works out very well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your menu.
Okay. Well, the thing that Glenn saw that wasn't around then was kind of the what do you call it, the California or LA style Mexican food, which is not Tex-Mex at all. It's kind of more almost of a tapas style. In other words, we have lots of tacos and small plates. So you can fill up on those, or we also have some platos. But for instance, one of the things that was very different was the LA style taco, whereas the filling, the meat, is pinned inside of a soft tortilla and then fried to the order, right? So it's not an already cooked shell that's then filled,
Right.
So it's very fresh.
Delicious.
Fish tacos, you don't always see, you do more so now, but also duck tacos, shrimp tacos, all those kind. And I'd say that a lot of the flavors are kind of from the Yucatan Peninsula,
Okay,
but
yeah.
the style is what he grew up with in LA.
And I love the decor.
Thank you.
It's just so colorful, and it reminds me of Mexico because I grew up right near the border.
Oh, great. Okay.
And it's just so happy.
Thank you.
What made you decide to decorate in this manner?
Well, the first store, Glenn and his wife did a lot of the decorating, and got their ideas and some decor pieces from Mexico. It's a much smaller store, so when we opened up this one, there was a lot more space to decorate. And I'm kind of an amateur carpenter and artist, and so I've made a lot of the decor pieces that you'll see around in the taqueria.
They're beautiful.
Yeah, well, thank
I
you.
love coming
Yeah,
in here.
Yeah.
And do you find people running in to do an errand, to drop
Oh, yeah.
dry cleaning off,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, people
going to the post
Yeah.
office or postal
doing
annex.
shopping and,
Yeah.
and picking up stuff at the dog store and whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So what kind of clientele would you say you have here normally?
Well, you know, lunches are a little quiet. You know, we don't do a huge lunch business because we're a dinner kind of bedroom community destination. You know, so our dinners are quite busy, and it's families. You know, we get it's a mix, but I'd say it's mostly families. We get a lot of couples, date night kind of thing come in, and we have the front section is a no kid zone for people that want to.
Oh,
You know,
right where we're sitting.
This section
I
here is
see.
kind of a no kid zone.
Okay.
For people that got a babysitter and want to have a dinner without kids around.
That's a clever idea.
Yeah.
I never thought about that. But
Right.
when I had little kids, I would have liked to have been in a place where there were none.
Right. And as the evening gets a little later, the families with the small kids are done, and we get more of an adult crowd toward the end. But we're not open past 10, so we don't get a big bar crowd. But we
And-
do a good bar business.
Right. Yeah, you
Yeah.
have a full bar,
Yeah, full bar.
plenty of chairs and seating.
Yep.
So you definitely have a waiting list sometimes, right?
Yeah, on
What are your busiest?
Thursday, Friday, Saturday
Thursday, Fridays.
nights are the busiest.
Okay.
So we often have
And-
we don't take reservations, so it's first come first serve.
Right.
Right.
Well, that's nice. So they just wait outside
Yep,
and
yep.
go get a coffee and come back. or something.
Exactly. Yeah.
I like that some of the employees are people that I recognize from my kids' childhood. So I've seen some of the girls and boys that work for you since they were, third grade and,
Yeah. Well, it's
second grade.
it's funny. Like I said, we've been here. We'll be 14 years in April in
that's
this location, and there's people that came in here. I can remember they would bring various dates, and then they would bring their husband, and then they would bring their kids.
Oh, my gosh.
And now one of their kids is like working for us as a host.
Oh
So
my
it's
gosh, that's so
you know,
funny.
right.
Generations.
So yeah, we've seen a lot.
That's
of,
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is your favorite part about running this restaurant?
Yeah, I think it's the community.
Yeah.
It's almost like a second family.
Yeah.
You get to know people for so many years.
Right.
And
Right.
it's just really nice to have that. And the other thing that I enjoy about it is my employees. We have just great people.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
we
Yeah.
might be the face of it, but they're the backbone of it. Yeah.
Thank you, Dan, for letting us come in to your beautiful restaurant, and I definitely plan on coming in for a margarita.
Awesome.
So
Thank you so much for coming in and speaking with me today. I really
Sure.
appreciate it.
Have a
All
great
right.
day.
All right. You too.